everybody. Welcome back to TARTLE Cast. I am off my deathbed. I had COVID for a bit.
Just for a bit.
Yeah, it was Hoboken, no joking with the COVID.
Yeah, it wasn't playing around.
No.
The key is you got run down first and then you got COVID.
Yeah.
So that makes it worse. So people got to keep their immune systems up high.
Yeah, you really got to don't wear yourself down like way too much with physical activity, like overdo it.
Yes. And
like immense amounts of like mental stress. Because then once you get it, it's like, oh, you get a perfect host, you know, like, and the thing just like coming here, it's just like eating away at the lungs.
but it was really bad for you.
It was bad. I was bedridden for legitimately 2 weeks. You know, people say, oh, I was sick. I was laying in bed. No, I was legitimately bedridden.
Yeah. And you're young too.
Yeah. Couldn't move, totally sick. You don't want to eat, nothing. I can 100% see how COVID kills people.
Yeah. That's what, could you imagine like being 80?
No, I honestly,
that's the whole deal with
would have been brutal.
Yeah.
You know, would have been totally
That's why people
brutal.
are passing. I mean, that's why people are passing away with, you know, I mean, you got a few underlying conditions.
I had
no underlying conditions. Yeah, you're just worn down.
Yeah, and it just absolutely clobbered me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because we had the flu in February, March.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I had COVID. And you're like, you had COVID.
And then I'm like, not even close. Not even close. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, let's get into, speaking of death. Let's get into something that's super cool. Fighter pilots.
Yeah, fighter pilots.
They're literally like every time they go out. I mean, the risk factor is high.
It's super high, right? That's why there's not very many of them.
Yes.
You know, we all like to like almost sexualize, not sexualize. What the heck's the word?
Well, I mean, you could sexualize it by saying, you know, like people will say they have like balls of steel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you look at like Top Gun, right?
Yes.
They sexualized certain aspects of it, you know, very manly over here too. Yeah. It's, you know, chauvinistic in certain areas. But the real truth is these people are very highly trained pilots.
Yes.
Okay, so I enjoy flying airplanes. I do it as a hobby. It's an expensive hobby, which is annoying. But it's when you're up there, I'm only doing 125 miles an hour, like ground speed. These guys are doing 700 plus while they're doing like maneuvers and you're upside down. But the thing is, I'm not worried about getting shot while I'm flying around.
Yes.
They have to worry about somebody else coming at them and threatening their life.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a much different circumstance. So the training required is truly above and beyond what most people would typically think. And what we have interesting here is how is the U.S. Navy, right, and the Air Force, how are they actually starting to use big data systems and virtual reality to help properly prepare these pilots?
Yeah, there's an article. It's called Project Avenger. And so it was VR. And then the title of the article is Big Data Sharpens Navy Pilot Training.
Sharp.
Yeah, which I love that.
Like a knife.
And so this VR simulation with the data that it's receiving is these Navy trainees can come in and it provides like virtual cockpits for them. But what they found out, and this is what I thought was interesting, is it was like it would take 12, 13 times and then 5 or 6 times they were able to get into a cockpit by using the virtual. Yeah,
no, it's incredible. So it reminds me a lot of Microsoft when they came out with Flight Simulator, and it helped train, you know, the terrorist people that hijacked the airplanes, you know, and then we add Trade Center. So what's interesting about that is the body has to somewhat adjust to being in the virtual setting. I had actually tried one of the earliest pairs back in the early 2000s of essentially virtual reality extension goggles. You know, I had this huge, I know the Oculus is quite large right now, but you know, it was slightly sizable for the time, but I had a bunch of cables coming out of my head plugged into a computer, and it was quite neat. But the adjustment period for like actually moving yourself and like to absorb the state of practice or whatever you're doing through that viewing area takes some time of adjustment. And so when we look at what's going on with the training of these pilots, is that it's going to take a period of adjustment before you actually like, okay, I'm in this, I'm used to it.
Right.
And I've absorbed enough of this, you know, essentially this digital, you know, this false reality in front of me so that I can then later apply it to reality outside of these goggles. And what the U.S. Navy and the Air Force is trying to do is how do we take those early stages, from 1 to 7 before they're actually ready to go into a real cockpit? How do we analyze all the data that actually comes with it? That adjustment time for the body, even your like stress responses when you're in a simulator, they do also mirror a lot that's going on with, in real life. So it's great practice. And it also helps with the training with the fact that you don't have to spend the money fueling up a jet, taking the risk of flying the plane and having these guys do maneuvers in real life. You can do this on the ground and still get the same sort of stressors on the body and analyze it with large computational systems while these guys are completely plugged in.
Well, yeah, they were even talking about some of the AI systems and stuff like that being able to find, like small tweaks or small faults.
Yeah.
So it may actually even help. You may be able to find you get an experienced pilot, put him into these virtual reality, and you find a little glitch of something that he's doing wrong, and a pilot could speak to this better, you could, but, and then next thing you know, what's happening is it's like, oh, well, you did this 7 flights in a row.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You did this little...
And you might not have noticed it yourself when you were flying.
Right.
Because it's a one-man show when you're in a fighter jet. But when you come back and you have the ability to do this sort of like, black box analysis right there on the ground, you can see like you're rolling out here way too early, right? You're, pushing the engines way too hard at this point, even though you think it feels right.
Yes.
You can actually be more efficient with your flying and all these other things. So there's a lot of good that actually happens through that simulated training. And we're probably going to see a lot of that as we step into the future more.
And the data, the amount of data that's coming in off of the videos that they have, because they have videos in the cockpit. And then you're getting the videos of the virtual reality.
Yep.
So they're able to see that. And then the sensors that they have all on their bodies.
Yeah, because they got their pressurized suits.
Right.
It's reading everything, right? And then you have the diagnostics that are happening specifically with the plane itself.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And then the new helmets and everything also track like your eyes.
Right.
So everything is being tracked. And now it's like, how do we take all this data, the combination of it, and start to derive some answers that make our pilots better pilots?
Yeah, and that's what I love. I think we're on to the future, and I think you're going to see a lot of virtual reality, whether it's big cranes and skyscrapers, any type of high risk job. I'm pretty sure you're going to see that training being done.
Yeah, most of the
virtual reality.
Most of the training, it'll behoove the companies or the government to come in and be like, it's worth us spending this amount of money up front to do this training virtually and outfit these guys in planes with the possibility of crashing.
I like it said it here. This was funny though, real quick, that it was pronounced Sinatra.
Sinatra?
Yeah. So the general Robert Westendorf, Rear Admiral Robert Westendorf, it's called Chief of Naval Air Training. Yeah. CNATRA. And it's pronounced Sinatra.
I like that. It's a soothing
that's
sound.
really cool. Yeah. I love that. But if somebody wants to, because we're talking about data, and I think this is really important. If somebody wants to purchase data from TARTLE, if there's a company out there and they're listening to this and they're wanting to get a different aspect of how they can approach their customers, specifically, and ask questions.
That's a great.
How is TARTLE able to do that?
Well, TARTLE has the ability from a very granular level to go and say, okay, I need to purchase data from this sex, this gender, this age, in this specific locale.
Right.
And you can do that anywhere all over the world with whatever sort of bespoke question that you might have, right? So if you have something that's very specific to your business, you have the ability to carry that forward and then purchase that data, survey, poll, whatever it might be from those individuals in that specific area. So you get that answer so you can make any sort of business decision effectively with perfect information.
Yeah, because we did a video and I just watched it here recently again, where it was like 70% of people are doing things on a hunch.
Yeah. And why don't we just get rid of that hunch and we 100% are doing it. This is exactly how it should be. Right. And that's why when we look to the future, we look to a future of perfect information. Yes. And that's what TARTLE's trying to create. And moving that data back and forth, that movement of data, it can only be facilitated on the TARTLE marketplace.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Alex.
Cool deal. Thank you.